Magnum. Take charge, take charge, take charge, take charge, take charge, take. Everybody put your Magnum in the air now. From you a drink Magnum, let me see. Take charge of things now your place now. From the river to the beach to the street. Hot Magnum when me have in a me hand there. He are a sipper, she tell me sweet. Look for me watch for your quick time check. Yeah. Right now a Magnum a for your beat. Enjoy yourself every day of the week with a Magnum. My life I forget sweeter. Must be 18 years and older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
It's October, and the TDC Home and Building Depot has gone pink in support of breast cancer awareness. Shop in-store or online for our pink tag specials with up to 75% off selected items. And be sure to look out for our Flash Sales Fridays, where you get even more savings. Plus, every Saturday from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m., our team of health professionals will be in-house, offering free breast screening and the chance to win a free mammogram. So this October, remember to think pink. Think TDC Home and Building Depots. Terms and conditions apply. See stores for details.
Once again, saying good morning to our many viewers and listeners around the globe on the various platforms, social media, radio, internet streams, and those in the various time zones. Welcome to another episode of Voices. You're logged on to Win FM 98.9 on your FM dial. Another episode of Voices is Friday, the 21st day of October. This gives us about 10 days before we usher in the big November. What am I saying? All right, we usher in the big November, and then we have December. I know there's lots going on before we get to the end of the year, but time is flying. And so we're looking forward to where we usher in the big 2023. We got about 2 months and about 10 days before we do so. In the meantime, we're enjoying another beautiful day in paradise. Some days we experiencing some punishing heat, but of course, paradise nevertheless. I want to say good morning to all the folks who normally log on, our dedicated callers, those who send their comments via WhatsApp or text stream. Welcome to another episode of Voices. It's Friday, and it's open mic Friday, so you got me all to yourself. Don't have any particular topic. Just an issue or two, a bit of old talk from around town we want to address. Not that we want to authenticate, but we have some discussions on a topic or two. I want to say congratulations to all the folks who have been appointed to the various statutory corporations within the new government construct. You have some young persons who are featuring. We say congrats to all the young persons. The focus on our youth is being very rewarding. They made their, what shall I say? They made the claims to be recognized. And we have to say congrats to them and to the government for recognizing the youth. Sometimes governments are accused of focusing on elder persons we are told should be retired, unless they've been held on by government, and young people needing opportunity overlooked. We can see now from what's been happening over the past few weeks, we have younger persons now being brought into the fold. The latest example is the new PS in the Tourism Authority. very young lady. I happen to know her father. He worked in that industry for many, many years. He must be a proud, very proud dad today. But we hear more of that as the program unfolds. Once again, good morning to Sister Henry and Petra Walters. Petra. She sent me a notification to give out for her for the breakfast symposium. Let's see if we can find that. It's very important because it was postponed from some time ago. So let's see if we can find that. And of course, Sister Henry would also like to get that update so you can find it. Hey, good morning to Hazel Brooks down there in, well, is that between Newton Ground and St. Paul's? How are we doing this morning? Sister Agnes Carrot, good morning. Lisa Scarrett, good morning. Miss Pamela Wall, good morning to you too. And of course, you always give respect to the Governor General and of course now the acting Governor General. Let's see now from Petra, and this is from the Silence No More organization. And we'll be observing the 4th annual breakfast symposium, the theme of which reads, "It starts with you." It starts with you, and the date will be Thursday, the 27th of October at the McKnight Community Center, starting from 8 to 1 p.m. Once again, that's the breakfast symposium being put on by the Silence No More organization. It's an organization that deals with domestic abuse issues. And the theme for this year's symposium, the breakfast symposium, is It Starts With You. The date is Thursday, the 27th of October, and it's going to be at the McKnight Community Center. Okay? So there's that, and thank you, Petra, for that update. She was here a few weeks ago discussing the issues of that they're facing with the organization that she's now the president of, founder and president, and they had to postpone this breakfast. So this is an update of something that was to be some time ago. All right, so the phone lines are open. To get in on the conversation, you want to breach a new topic, is 466-0989, 662-0989. And we have a message. Okay, that's something personal. We'll leave that later on. Talk around town. Let me see if I can open up a topic here. Maybe we can get Curtis to weigh in on this. For the past few weeks, there's been some talk around town about the PM's new residence, his new location. And there's been some pros and cons on the topic. My response to this, and I'll put on record, the chatter around town is that the PM, directly after being elected, moved into a gated community. Now, I do not know if the gentleman is paying for the new digs or not. The talk around town is that he's made himself inaccessible by moving into that gated community up at, well, I don't need to give up the location. Those who know. The conversation is, well, some of the back talk is that it's a Prime Minister's official residence. I know for some time going back there was that discussion that there should be an official Prime Minister's residence. I have absolutely no issues with that, no objections, none whatsoever. So the optics are also very important, and people in PR, they know this. The conversation is that the PR move into this gated, and they put emphasis on gated community. And he's no longer accessible. I don't buy that. I have seen the gentleman, well, apart from the various official functions, he's out there. My thinking and my response has been, if that is the case, there's nothing wrong with getting out ahead of the story. Optics are very important. If we had to state that we have now designated an official Prime Minister's residence, so that when you have foreign dignitaries to entertain, you've got this posh place, and we are a progressive nation. Not too worried about that. And so if we are to have a prime minister resident, I applaud that 100%. But the persons who are dealing with PR, you're not obligated to. But I think it would be a good thing to state publicly where we now have an official prime minister's residence, and you give your rationale for it. And the public will buy that. The public will buy that. So from my perspective, I don't think the chatter and the shoo-shoo and the talk around town, some of it is in a derisive manner, criticizing. I don't buy that. I think the gentleman, or whomever the prime minister may be, he or she, in the future, should have, and being in a progressive nation, we should have that and accord that high office the dignity that it deserves. Oh, but he getting housing allowance? I do not know. As I said earlier, I do not know if the gentleman is paying for his property or his residence. Talk is that it's a government property. It was supposed to be a judge's residence. And you have all the chatter, which we're known for being, well, we're citizens and we have our opinions here or there, whether it's political, etc., etc. But from my point of view, I think it would be a good thing, and the PR people should take that opportunity and address those concerns out there in the public. Yes, we do have, and this is the rationale behind it. This is the way going forward. That is how we'll deal with it. So Curtis Cook, if you have any opinions on that, if you heard only half of what I said, because there are times people only hear half of what you present. And the comments you were, well, how dare you criticize? I am not criticizing. I'm saying based on the rumors and the hush-hush around town, we can do better than that. Get out ahead of the story and say, yes, we do have an official prime minister's residence, same way we have an official governor general residence. And this is the way going forward. When we have foreign dignitaries, state affairs, etc., you can now be entertained or, greeted at the official prime minister's residence. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay? So if anyone wants to call in and weigh in on that topic or any other issue, it's Open Mic Friday. And the phone lines are working. Don't leave me talking all by myself. All right, we had, when I was here last week, a release of a Calypso, which I thought was the first release for the 2022 Sugar Mass 51 Calypso Carnival season. The song is entitled Home Sweet Home, released by the Navigator, and it spoke about how it came to be, the appeal is for nationals who out there, etc., doing what they have to do. We have the criticism of people from the region moving into St. Kitts, and we call them foreigners. But just driving to Sandpoint yet this morning, early morning, I counted 2 establishments that's owned by one Jamaican, 2 Guyanese, very close to each other. And I'm thinking, there's the Chinese. So the song is saying that while you're up there doing your thing, and you claim you love this country so much, you're patriotic, but while you're out there doing your thing, other people are moving into your home, sweet home. So don't criticize because they are moving in while you're doing your thing up there. And so that song was released. Another song was released last night on another radio station, and I don't think that the presenter/DJ gave it justice. It's a song that dealt specifically with domestic violence. And I know the young lady, Sister Lady Carens, wanted to release a song with Sister Sensia, a female who she thought would be able to be more receptive to the song. The song referenced, to a very large extent, the incident some weeks ago that resulted in the death of a young man, and spoke to the role the police played, should have played, etc. And the guy was, I don't hit women. I thought that was not the best way to deal with a song of that import. But that being said, it's another release for the Sugar Mass 51 Carnival season. It is going to be featured in the Legends Calypso tent when the launch on the 3rd of next month. That will be at the former potential location. And that song was entitled Enough. I don't think I have a copy with me. If not, I will ask the engineer to play it for the listening public. One of the other releases for the Sugar Mass 51 Calypso Carnival season. So I may find a copy before the day is done and play that. Right? So the two tents are going up to launch their Calypsonians to the public shortly. As I mentioned shortly, the Legends tent is due to open around the 3rd of next month. I want to thank our sponsors who have come aboard so far. But the appeal goes out still to the general public to come up and support the Calypsonians and the new offering. I know some years ago we've had situations where the tent... Hello? Is there a call? Okay, let's pause for a call from the public. Caller live on Voices.
Good morning, the King.
Good morning, sir. How about thou?
Thou and Pigeon good.
I remember the Calypso, you know. Thou and Pigeon.
It, you know.
Huh?
I love it.
Yeah, ooh, coo, panji manje. I mean, the young people won't have an idea what we're talking about, but anyway, the mic is yours.
That was thou way to cool off. Ear cool.
Ate pepper, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. He petty and he telling Pigeon don't say. He say he taking ear cool.
These were some of the classics of yesterday that we don't hear anymore, and it's unlikely we'll ever hear them being played on the radios these days. Imagine that.
You're right. You're perfectly right. You're perfectly right. Like me good idol, reggae idol, Joseph Hill Culture.
Yes.
Sing a song and say.
Is that what you call yourself, Culture?
No. They call me so in St. Thomas
I
because
know.
that is all the music I used to listen.
I knew you back then.
Yeah.
Bavoni?
Right. You traveled.
You didn't listen. You didn't know me then, but when Bavoni was being constructed, I lived there.
Okay.
And one of my sisters got one of the first apartments, so I would see you going back and forth. That was the early 70s.
Well, you could have said, sink it, man.
Them days you're big, man. You're big, Culture. I mean, this big by cyclists. You know what I mean? Well, okay. I don't want people.
Well, I'm still big, you know, but I used to be 6'1", but then I only 1 foot now because.
What a classic! What a classic!
No, I respect the issue what you say, right, about talking about the residents for the
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
Yep.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. That is all I can say.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So
We
nobody
are-
could say, well then. Nobody could say, well. Sorry, nobody could say, well then. He taking this money and that money and putting it on his own thing.
Well, I don't know the particular circumstance, but I'm saying based on the talk around town, and it has been constant. You know, it has been constant. I'm saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's the way it's presented because the people have to know we are now a progressive nation, and this is something that should be in place. We had the discussions before. You know? But then I don't want the people who hear your conversation and go and say, well, Socrates said this and that. You know what I mean? So, you know.
No. I am not gonna get into that. Because there's a house for the governor.
Precisely.
Okay then. That they match up the other one. Now let me say something here now, brother. What the tallest Calypsonian ever hit any stage in St. Kitts Nevis.
I hear you. No. There was a guy from Nevis.
Who that?
He died, tall Rasta guy. He sang with a tent. I'm gonna get his name. He died about 4 or 5 years ago. Tall. He wasn't tall. He was long.
Taller than you?
Not Abba Lively, but yes, of course. Very, very tall person.
Where he couldn't walk under the traffic light them.
I would have to duck a bit. But he was the tallest.
All right, okay. Well, you got the crown now.
I'll take that.
Now, every week on Win FM on Mondays and every week on ZIZ on Wednesdays, you have police, traffic, and on the road.
Traffic talk.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I am calling on the police department to set police out there on the road. You got police all over the place. There must be patrol on the road regular. My good friend Wilma, she complained about them speeding up there where she live in Taylor's.
Mm-hmm.
And other people complain, even down Sandy Point, speeding on back road and Arkona road. And I want to know when they're going to do something about these people. We got some what you call some gutter snipe, headless, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse public transportation service drivers. Not all. Some of them, the good ones, they are excluded. But you got some ignorant one, saltfish, weighing on the head, operate better than them, they walk ahead. They're driving the bus like it's only they alone on the road. Imagine they're going on a right-hand corner. They're supposed to stay left and go round.
Mm-hmm.
They're going on a right-hand corner and they're on the right side, which is the other driver coming to them side. And this morning somebody called me and they tell me that Neil, he almost collided in a curve with one of them. When he done, the driver says, sorry. So he realized he did something wrong and stupidness. And I am saying this, people tired talk, and it's hard for people to take the money and go and sacrifice and buy what they want. And then somebody can drive on the road with the item shot.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit you, a master and then they wouldn't even have insurance, now outsurance. So who can fix your vehicle?
Well,
Police? You were saying something?
one of the things that the new Attorney General said they're going to implement a ticketing system with a demerit system. So if you get tickets too frequently, they'll be able to suspend your license for a period of time. And he said specifically those who depend on driving as a livelihood. You don't really get taxi drivers speeding to the point, you know. But I got a couple of tickets. I got a couple of tickets. Because down at the Sun area, certain school some months ago, I was late for this program. I'm flying coming up, and there was a police by this big tree. You couldn't see them from a way off. And they pulled me over and they slapped me a ticket. So it's not only, there are times when you're late for one reason or the other, and you try to make up. So the best thing to do with that, leave home earlier.
Exactly.
Leave home earlier so you won't have to rush. Because there are times you're challenged to make your appointments in time, and you hit the pedal, and you turn a corner, and they flag you down.
Oh, well, here it is.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting fed up with the ignorance on the road because a lot of them doing. Imagine a driver going overtake on a hill. He cannot see what's coming up on the other side, and it's a bend.
Uh-huh.
Now, when he hit the person, what he going to do? Lick up and them and say, look, why you do not? Sorry?
Yeah, well, that's the downside of it. Your insurance and such can't compensate for, the things that the victims go through.
When they know police on the road patrolling, they're going to stop this stupidness. Because all over the world, you see what happening when people's rights are being taken away, with ignorance. People that do what they want to do to who they want to do. And we don't want a lot to do happening here in the country. So police
to me,
out there, when I see them lift up the wheel in the air, some of them, give them a heavy ticket. When I get them driving foolishly, pull them over and not easing upon nothing. Because people getting itchy with the vehicle on the road and their lives.
Well,
too many people are vegetable because of ignorance.
You have been consistent with your concerns for road safety in the way our drivers function, so one has to appreciate that. By the way, the name of the Calypsonian was Watusi.
Oh, yes.
Tall chap. And a diehard Calypso fan. This guy follows Calypso music going back. Mackie was the one who texted me with the proper information. So I forgot his name, was scrambled, but Mackie texted me the information, Watusi. And he was also a taxi driver. He worked in the tourism industry in Nevis.
Well,
So we should.
I ain't going to tie up the line any longer, but I can tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
You, not all time, you are long-time original Calypsonian, never give up that, please.
Well, I was
Because
told.
we see what they do with reggae. They come with that kind of stupidness. But pull out this and Babylon, power and that kind of nonsense. We don't want that in Calypso.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the story in the Calypso.
It's the art of
People would learn
storytelling.
something
Some can
and
do it better
laugh.
than others, but it's the art of storytelling.
Anyway,
appreciate the
you're
comment.
listening.
Okay, so. And there was
Okay,
Culture make
okay.
his contribution
Okay,
to the program.
What to see?
Watusi.
Yes.
He passed some years
What
ago.
you see?
Well, the name suited him because, you know, the Watusi tribe from Africa, they're very tall.
Okay.
Very tall. Right? It's about time we go
Okay,
downtown
let's
and give Caesar his due. So I want to thank you
Yes.
for your contribution. As usual, stay tuned. We may have to engage in more conversation before the day's over, okay?
Okay then.
So we go downtown and we say hi and hello to Caesar, and we will be right back.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drugstore's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drugstore's curbside pickup service.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
Once again, good morning and welcome back to Voices. You're logged on to WinFM 98.9 on your FM dial. About this time, I want to send greetings out to Chris Collins over there in St. Lucia, soaking up some waves, living it up, posting a picture of some exotic drink. Chris, more power to you, Mallet and Marvin Elvers. Having a good time over there in St. Lucia. Yes, also to Rosemary Donald up there in New York. I've mentioned her name a few times on the program. She's actually logged on. I want to thank her once again for obtaining 2 wheelchairs, and I think she did a box of like those things you put on your knees. I forget the right name for them. And I made a call to a certain gentleman to try to accommodate the shipping to St. Kitts. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll be able to clear them out of your house. We don't want you to have a backlog of things. She is actually a senior care provider. We are talking about providing care for people in their late 80s, 90s, etc. And oftentimes, when they pass, their wheelchairs, strollers, and stuff are put out. And she's made a commitment to collect and send them down so the folks here in St. Kitts who are in need of them can benefit. So we're at the stage now of trying to find the best mechanism to get them to folks here in St. Kitts. And we go to the phone lines. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Hi, the King. Good morning.
Good morning, Sir Africa. How about thou?
I'm giving thanks for life and yourself.
Count to my blessings first, and we're ahead.
And good morning to those who are listening, home and abroad, especially the lady, Dr. Cooper Asagai's sister.
That's Jennifer Richards. She's over there in Atlanta. Atlanta,
Hi,
of course.
Good morning.
Mm-hmm.
You just said something there, and I strange the way we give ourselves names, or someone would identify us and call us by the name. You identified the guy who carried the name Watusi.
Watusi, yes.
Yes. Can I have permission to speak first, though?
Most certainly, sir.
Thank you. But if my recollection serves me right, they might have been here from the eastern coast of Africa, and they would have been probably fall under the Nilotic grouping of those people. You know, the Maasai and the Watusi and the different tribes. You know, those in South Sudan and so forth. But you, the King, have you ever wondered if your tallness would have been as a part of the tribal affinity, your tribal trait that you have inherited?
Yes, I'm convinced of it, but I've not researched. But here's what. There are oftentimes I travel and people ask me if I'm from Tobago. Because apparently there were a tribe of enslaved Africans there who were big and tall and strapped. Well, I used to be strapped. I'm still tall, but and that was the thinking. Even in Trinidad, they think I'm from Tobago because that particular tribe had certain physical attributes that distinguished them from the others. And so, yes, because I recall my maternal grandfather was a man of tall stature from Antigua, and he went by the name of Samuel Joseph.
Okay.
You know, so there's certain because my father is short. Yeah, he's
and
passed.
it was good that we somewhat listened to our grandparents. Those of us who was brought up with, I did not, but I always try to get a recollection as to what was the type of conversation I had with my mother, as what she talked about her parents and my father and his parents, and so I can glean.
Mm-hmm.
And did my mother came to Nevis? She was born in Nevis via another island, so that we can, channel our way back to see how. But you, the King,
so
I know that in Tlingit there were different tribes. We know of the Igbo from the Bight of Biafra, but we also know of a tall tribe that came from Senegal. They were the Wolof. I claim one of my persons who I admire a lot. I listen to a lot of his audio. Check Anta Diop. He was a linguist along with other things, and he was of the Wolof, and he did a lot of research chasing the migratory path where they was in the Nile Valley at one time, and they migrated to West Africa. So the Wolof. Check it out, the King.
Okay.
Because, a lot of us are short statues and think it's a news, as you realize.
Mm-hmm.
But you stand out, and a few others.
Well, the John Newton, the then slave trader who turned to be this songwriter and, of Amazing Grace, he would have landed some 400 enslaved Africans direct from Senegal to Sandy Point, Pompey and Sandy Point.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard the conversation before that, and that's why we're narrowing it down.
John Newton.
I have this affinity that I might be from the Ghana area.
Mm-hmm.
I have this affinity of a particular tribe, not so much the Akan, but the Ewe. Ewe is a sheep, but it's Ewe. It came to the Germans when the Germans occupied that space before World War II, and it was what they used to call it the slave coast. And they lumped Ghana. What is Ghana today is a part of Togo,
mm-hmm.
where they call the Volta area of Togo, which was German land, and then the Germans lost their land. So the French and the British divided the
I don't like how you
German
phrase
land.
it, German land, we know how they came there, right?
Yeah, because of 1884, 85. All of them come. Remember that Berlin conference was in Berlin, Germany. Yeah? And the chancellor back then, Chancellor Bismarck, where they named the tree off of him. You know, the flamboyant tree?
Bismarck, yeah, I know. What I'm saying, when you
Right.
say German land, German couldn't have land in Africa.
Yeah.
It was
the type of
African
names that they
land
gave them.
confiscated.
French land and German land and all these type of land, they gave them these lands.
Yeah.
Like Kenya was like the British land, the British protectorate land in East Africa. And so the name Kenya came off of the Kilimanjaro. They could not say Kilimanjaro, the mountain. So they said Kenya. That was the closest. So the Germans couldn't say Ewe, so they say Ewe. And so forth and so forth. And that's how some names come about. And That's interesting, the king. You check out the whole of history, and we have not done our DNA testing to ascertain, but we have these affinities and our character traits and everything. Who were the Wolof? They were griots. They were storytellers. So here is
You're talking to me.
Story, right?
You're talking to me, because I've had Tobago.
They were griots. They were people with vivid memory. They were close to the king. They was keeping documentary. They were the one who interpreted the 72 languages to the king. As the emissaries come and people from different kingdoms come to the king, he must have people who know the language, their language, to speak, to interpret to him.
There's sometimes,
or you just cannot approach the king like that.
They're sometimes pronounced as griots, right?
Yeah, griot.
But a griot is actually griot. But I've had Tobago Crusoe, a well-known Trinidadian Calypsonian, who agrees with me that Calypso did not originate in Trinidad, right? Even charters sometimes grudgingly that it came from Africa. These are cultures that survived the Middle Passage. But the claim, it will give them the steel pan, give Trinidad no problem there, right? But Calypso was, the modern day Calypso was a griot. The same cultural practices, being able to write a song, play instrument, traveling troubadours, and they chronicled all the history of the various communities. That is what Calypso is doing today. But the custom that came from Trinidad.
Alive. And kudos to you guys for keeping that aspect of the art form alive.
Thank you very much.
We have our role to play. I have found myself and I have played my role by, putting the consciences of our people for them to really do their own research into who they are as a people.
Well, on another call, I would like us to go into what triggered your consciousness. Because you didn't get that from going to the boys' school and the schools around here. So at some other point, let's discuss what triggered your consciousness as an African. What made you aware of who you are?
Took all of us born with it, but it gets dumbed down. It gets nullified.
Perhaps you're right.
It gets comatose. As we go along, maybe in our eating habits, maybe in other inoculations, and all of this kind of dumb it, keep it on the lid. You know what I mean? This thing wants to assert itself, but let us keep it down. When you're putting on the cap on a drink, it is so potent. And when you're trying to open the cover, it's forcing the cover to come off. Those potent drinks like Marby, for instance, and sarsaparilla. All right.
Okay, thank you very much for your contribution.
Right.
And Sister Carla Astafan has provided a link. She says there is Ancestry.com. So for those who would have an inclination to find out more about the roots, Carla Astafan has contributed by saying, well, she sent me a text. There's a voice string, but it was, there is Ancestry.com. So, Carla, I'm going to pick it up. I was looking up talking to Dr. Bernard Nisbet. His books about starting a search in terms of my genealogy, but I'm going to thank you for that information. We do for another station break. Shall we take it downtown and give Caesar his due? Then we'll be right back.
TDC Financial Services. We're here for you to help you make your dreams come true. Whether your needs are big or small, we'll support you with them all. TDC Financial Services. We are strong. TDC Financial Services. This is where you belong.
TDC Financial Services, where money is made easy.
Enjoy an elevated experience with your Flow Home Internet and mobile combined.
Giving you the best rate for great savings.
With 120 gigs of double data for anything.
And unlimited talk.
On 4 mobile lines.
Simply combine your Flow Home Internet and mobile for the best rate and value. Unlock double data and unlimited talk on 4 mobile lines to go with home internet speeds up to 35 megabits per second. Visit a Flow store to sign up today. Conditions apply.
And welcome back to Voices. My name is Socrates. It's the 21st day of October. We're zooming down to the end and we'll introduce, of course, November and then December. Hey, my birthday's in December, okay? And this year I'm going to have a bash. This year, there's a lady from Jamaica who has been living here for many, many, many years. She's the wife of Michael. There was Marshall and Michael, 2 chefs who came here with Arthur Sharp from Jamaica. We know Marshall's. He's got a restaurant over there at, you know what I'm talking about, Forget Bay. Michael is the one with what's the name I'm talking about? We have Carla trying to get in. Okay, let's see. Carla, are you there? We're trying to get Carla online. She's calling, and I know she have lots to contribute. Are you there, Carla?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
How are you? I think you called my name Big on the radio.
Big. Yeah. I give you credit because it's vital information, and it came from you, not from me.
Yes,
So.
there are all these. There's people who have been doing their genealogy by going on Ancestry. I mean, I haven't tried it as yet. I'm tempted, but I haven't done it as yet. I think there's something called 123.com, and there are other, people he could delve into. I mean, it's about sending you a sample of your DNA and so on. But I like the topic. I like what you're saying. I like what Africa was saying. I had to laugh about the German town as well.
The German land, yeah.
It's like Africa actually said that for real. Give the places the right name. But the thing is, even if, as we look at our history and we look at the slave trading posts throughout the Western Africa, and of course there were other parts of Africa with slavery, but they went inland.
The interior.
They went inland quite a lot and brought people from other areas to the coast. So people could, our ancestors, that's why our ancestry is so mixed. Yes, we may have feelings towards particular groups of people, whether, sometimes I look at the faces, I say, am I Mandinka? Am I Mandingo? Am I Hausa? Am I Yoruba?
You look at Shanti.
I see people, so we have all of that mixed because, we have this, they just messed us up, basically. Our ancestors were just thrown together. And over the centuries, there was all this mixing, so we would have some little bit of Benin and this and, of all kinds of people, of these different groups of people coming through our genealogy, right? Yes, you and I have this great height. I have sisters who are short. My father was a tall man. Like you, my my great grandfather came from Antigua. We are, you know, so I had a great grandmother who has roots in St. Kitts.
Mm-hmm.
We do not know where our you know, who are our cousins, our distant cousins. So until we do our genealogy, then we may never know. I think I'm afraid to see what I might find out. I don't know. But anyway.
I understand totally. Now, it was Charles who pointed out to me that, you know, we have a women with that massive derriere, that shape, small waist, and he gave me the name of that particular tribe that those women came from.
They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. You know, I heard Africa talking about just a while ago the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, throughout a lot of the cultures in America, in Africa,
You had that.
History was passed down just like
Already.
through the griot.
Already.
You understand? So it wasn't only that the wall of people who were doing the storytelling. There were all these different groups of people. That was how there were people who were tasked with keeping the history, with being able to tell the genealogy. Just like when we read, you know, First Matthew, and we're able to tell the genealogy of Jesus. People were tasked with telling the stories of their people. And rightly, as you said, with California as well, that it has its genesis in our culture, in our Africanness. You know, it is things that came through. This is the same thing. The people came with those,
Correct.
the ability to tell stories.
Correct.
And I mean, this is very exciting for me because, you know, now that we are looking at African movies, we are looking at African songs, we are looking at these different artists, I hear in the same tone of things. There's something in Dominica that we call the love way, right? Where the women would be like answering back. So, and I think they have it in Trinidad.
In Trinidad
as well.
also, yeah.
Yeah, so you cry out something and then the others answer.
Call and answer.
And so on. And I'm hearing the same tune, same sort of sound coming out of the African of the
movies?
continent.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you got to look at a movie a documentary on Netflix where they're talking about the Yoruba people and how the culture has invaded. You know, was able to go through all of the new work
In the U.S.
and it is because. Yes, it is.
Yep.
It is so exciting. So much of what we were able to retain. It is.
But you know they've been targeted, right?
Yeah.
They've been targeted.
I heard you ask Genesis of his Africanness.
Yes.
Right, like how he became inspired, and I mean we could all ask ourselves that question. But the fact is, we are so African. We are so African in how we speak, in the way we behave, in the things
our
we
posture.
say. You know, so many things that
Those
we
who
do.
know ourselves.
Yeah,
In our posture. And what you will accept and not accept.
Mm-hmm. Right. So we just were not aware. So while we were being fed all of the European stuff, we were still keeping to some
Our
to a large
naturalness.
extent, who we are.
Our naturalness.
Naturally who we are. Yesterday I'm sitting down and my daughter said, "Mommy, I want 2 plaits." You know those famous 2 cornrows that
Yes.
we do?
Yes.
Yeah, and that goes to Africa, goes straight back to Africa as well. That simple hairstyle, those 2 braids, you know, that we do. It's like, or even just the sitting and combing our children's hair. You know, the way in which we do it. All of those things.
What we call sucking our teeth. When we suck our teeth. They call sucking
Yes,
teeth.
Precisely.
That's
Yes,
African.
I don't think there's any other culture in the planet that sucks our teeth like that. Like we do strip fins like that we do. You know, or the soup scene. Even the soup scene. Like, you know how you all like to bird call girls?
Yep.
You know?
Not
those
Mikala. Not Mikala. I don't do that.
You sure you're a soup me when I pass it?
If you only knew.
So yeah, so all of those things, you know, I mean, there's just so much. Our language, the things that we say. There's a girl I follow on Instagram, Know Your Caribbean, and you should follow her. She drops a lot of these jewels all the time that shows how much we are one people.
Know Your Caribbean?
You know,
Is it called the
Know Your
program?
Caribbean.
Know Your Caribbean?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, she's out of she's grew up in England and St. Lucian roots, but she covers all different aspects of Caribbean, our Caribbean-ness, and shows our linkages to Africa. And yeah, sometimes I look at her videos and so on, and just I'm always just reading up and looking at.
Quick
stuff
question. Quick
related.
question. Do you think that you'll ever see any of this being taught in our classrooms in the school?
Well, you asked that, but our teachers have taught, you see,
as part of the curriculum.
Yes, we are being taught European, with a European slant, even when I was going to school. But teachers were also reading extensively. So we would have these discussions because you ask questions, right? And, remember, I grew up in the period of the Black Power movement. So,
there was awareness. There was that cultural awareness, awakening.
Precisely, so my uncles, my aunts, my people around, the big afros coming out, the boys at
Junior Labor.
The St. Mary's Academy in Dominica had decided not to wear ties anymore. They had the big afros, that sort of thing. It was the
making a statement.
Movement that just started, so we saw people getting tear gas. So there was an awakening that was happening in the 70s, in the early 70s, that would make us search for more, So we didn't have to be taught it just in the classroom.
The awakening
was
was enough.
About it. Yeah.
But I'm saying with our awareness today, why isn't there a dedicated program as being part of our curriculum?
Well, I think which is one of the things we want to do as part of the reparations. And I was in two reparations meetings this week. I actually spent 9 hours over a course of 2 days attending the CARICOM Reparations Committee meetings. And that is one of the thrusts, the need for us to advocate for history, our history. To become, compulsory. Because a lot of our students are dropping history. Maybe the way in which it's taught, I'm not sure, but we need to find a way for them to
make it exciting, make it appealing, make it personal.
A compulsory subject. It has to be a compulsory subject, so that we can keep pushing for this reparations agenda, right? And hear what people have to say on it and push for it is very important. I mean, we tend to just feel like, they ignore the history, but the history is very exciting. The history, it has a lot about who we are, and we need to know it so that we know where we go, so we don't end up in a situation again, right?
Long overdue.
We need to honor our ancestors by learning our history. I think the information is there. So there's some other books that will be coming out and so on. So it's up to us. It's up to our administrators, our government.
Frank Yerby. Frank Yerby is a celebrated black author. If you don't know who he is, you'll read the book and think that he's Caucasian. I mean, some weird stuff, and I sang about that years ago, and Simon Jones Henderson came backstage and said, Socrates, what are you doing? They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know what you're talking about. I was saying get rid of Mills and Boone and the Harlequin Romance and introduce these black authors into our curriculum. The song was called The Unshackled Mind.
But Socrates, not that I'm going to say, I did read a lot of Mills and Boone and the Barbara Catlins and all of that, but I am a reader. You understand?
Yes.
So I also read books that I read everything. I read George Lamin. I read all kinds of books. You understand?
Mills and Boone and George Lamin are two different things.
Mills and Boone are the soft reading that just helps you with your English, right? Because we had to write our O levels. But at the same time, I was reading, what's her name? What's her name? There's a lady I used to like, an African writer. I have her books on my bookshelf. But yeah, you I can't remember her name right now, but I read a lot of her books. So you just have to diversify. You know, I'm not saying just read one book. I read a lot of books. You know, it's just I'm like that. So I'm not going to discount the Milton Boone or the thing. But yes, today, in those days when I was growing up, what I will say, though, is that in the days when I was growing up, we did not have access to African writers. We did not have access to Caribbean writers. Now we don't have an excuse. So we can pick up, we can choose to make a different decision than I did when I was a child, when I was a teenager.
You have 2 minutes now. Speak, you, Carla, you have 2 minutes now to speak to the now generation. Speak to them, recommend to them, talk to them. You got 2 minutes before we go to news break.
You want me to say? Well, basically, I'm saying they need to delve into their history. They need to find books about us. You know, read writers that can strengthen their consciousness. And, yeah, we need to advocate, continue that advocacy for reparations. And for us to be able to do that, you need to be as
informed,
rooted in your history as possible, and your culture.
On that note, we can ask for a better segue into, well, I mean, it's very important to hear people like you who are accomplished, who are visible, speak to that demographic of our young people. Because their role models are the Rihannas and that with that hairstyle, and they gravitate towards that. I understand that, but you must be rooted first. You must be rooted first in your history and your culture to know yourself.
I'm just talking about that. I would like to see, you know what I'd like to see, and this is something I really would like to see happen, a lot more of that advocacy if be in the schools. Like, why isn't, you know, I would like to, this is something I'm going to be encouraging over the coming months for groups, you know, let Bastia High School have a reparations youth group, call ICCS, Washington Archibald High, Sandy Point. Let us have debates surrounding the issues. Let us, you know, those are the things I'd like to see more youth.
I'm going to have the call back.
To see more of that.
You're going to have the call back after the media newscast. Let's continue this. We actually do for the newscast right now. So thank you very much. But please, if you can, call back. Let's continue. At this point, we now break for the midday newscast.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoy the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Walwyn, low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Bastia in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The St. Kitts and Nevis Solid Waste Management, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We are encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every second and fourth Tuesday each month at the following locations in St. Kitts: the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Deep Bay. In Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, Ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottle, flatware set, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. Reduce, reuse, recycle. With the Win Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
I am Devon Cornelius.
And I am Yulana Weeks.
Making the headlines, St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister addresses Haiti's turmoil in speech at 72nd OECS Authority meeting. Says region should do more than just say sorry.
The Gingerland Secondary School shows appreciation to senior citizens.
Tucker Clark Primary School student dominates Rotary Club of Liamiga Spelling Bee competition.
CARICOM has concerns about United Nations resolution to Security Council for the deployment of forces to Haiti will be vetoed. Dominica removes COVID-19 mask mandate. Internationally, Pakistan's Election Commission has disqualified ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan from holding public office in a case the former cricketer has previously described as politically motivated. Now, the details. Over the last 2 years, Haiti has faced several man-made and natural disasters: earthquakes, the COVID-19 pandemic, the assassination of former President Jovenel Moïse, and gangs that have taken control of regions of the country and have kidnapped foreigners for ransom. Since September, armed gangs have blocked the main fuel terminal in the capital, Port-au-Prince, and severed access to aid routes. For weeks, the country has been racked by unrest, with many taking to the streets protesting against higher fuel and food prices, demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. According to international reports, quote, nearly half of the population faces acute hunger, and now the country faces an outbreak of cholera, end quote. During the 72nd meeting of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States Authority, St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, Minister of Finance, National Security, Citizenship and Investment, Health and Social Security, ended his maiden speech acknowledging the plight of the people of Haiti and said the region should do more than say sorry.
That to the people of Haiti, I listened to that song last night, Haiti, I'm Sorry. That was sung so many years ago. And after so many years, we are back to the same place, and possibly even worse. That while we say we were sorry, a lot more could have been done. And in this vein, I encourage us to do what we can for our brothers and sisters in Haiti. The first freed slave nation in the Western Hemisphere, setting the spirit of independence for all of our peoples who came here in chattel slavery. We must never forget their sacrifice and commitment to that spirit, and therefore encourage us to do all we can to let our brothers and sisters in Haiti know that we are not only sorry, but really we want to do what our capacity allows us to do and extend a tangible hand.
The United Nations Security Council is currently debating an international intervention in Haiti with the deployment of forces to open up aid corridors and resolve what the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls an absolute nightmarish situation.
In commemorating World Food Day, the Agricultural Science Department of the Gingerland Secondary School on Nevis showed appreciation to senior citizens residing in the Gingerland area. On Wednesday, October 19, 2022, 10 senior citizens received fruit baskets distributed by the agricultural science students and teachers. Presentations were made to Mr. Charles Liebert, Mrs. Helen Bradley, Miss Sylvia Huggins, Miss Lillian Brown, Mr. Elton Archibald, Miss Ivy Kelly, Mr. Denzel Brown, Miss Catherine Walters, and Miss Vanita Walters. The distribution is timely as senior citizens are also celebrated in October. The Gingerland Secondary School said, quote, "We would like to express our thanks to all those who contributed fruit or assisted in the preparation of the fruit baskets," end quote. It added, quote, "We were well received by all recipients, and they expressed gratitude for the initiative," end quote.
Amaziah Barry of the Tucker Clark Primary School is the winner of the Rotary Club of Liamiga Primary School Spelling Bee competition held Thursday, October 20th at the Antioch Baptist Church. Securing the second place position was Kayla De Silva of the Beach Allen Primary School. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, delivered brief remarks at the event. In a Facebook post on Thursday, the Education Minister said, quote, "Spelling helps in developing overall literacy, and so I look forward each year to this event. To see these bright young ones stand in front of an audience and display their bravery and smarts, it really tells me we have a lot to look forward to," end quote. There was representation from 17 other primary schools on St. Kitts at the Spelling Bee competition. Officials from the Ministry of Education, Rotary Club of Liamiga, as well as parents and teachers were present.
In regional news, CARICOM has concerns about United Nations resolution to Security Council for the deployment of forces to Haiti will be vetoed. Dominica removes COVID-19 mask mandate. Those reports and more from Carib Update.
There are concerns within CARICOM that a pending United States resolution to the United Nations Security Council seeking support for the deployment of forces to Haiti may be vetoed by China and Russia, even as nationwide unrest roils the French-speaking country. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry last week called for solidarity from the regional bloc and has requested assistance to alleviate the deepening humanitarian, security, political, and economic crises unfolding as gang violence peaks. But according to reports, CARICOM is grappling to find an appropriate intervention strategy amid weak diplomatic relations and few formal agreements between some CARICOM member states and Haiti. The Dominican Republic has approved a request by a trading firm to export 20,500 gallons of diesel to Haiti for use principally in hospitals as gangs continue blocking a key fuel terminal. Fuel shortages created by the gang blockade have left Haitian hospitals without diesel to power their generators, which are the only way they can ensure consistent electricity due to chronic outages in Haiti's power grid. Most hospitals have curtailed or halted operations in recent weeks, just as the country is facing a cholera outbreak on top of a humanitarian crisis driven by shortages of food and water. A firm called AFA Trading, in an October 17 letter to the Dominican Industry Ministry, sought permission to export the fuel via the land border between the two countries with the intent of supplying 3 hospitals and 1 manufacturing facility. Dominica has now officially removed the mask mandate that it instituted at the height of the recent COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt said people could continue wearing the mask if they so wanted to, but it is not legally mandated. He, however, said that food handlers will still be required by statute to wear masks.
One of the things that we'll be maintaining is that those who are involved in the food and beverage business should be wearing a mask when they're serving their patrons, they're serving guests. And I think this is going to become a permanent fixture in the food handlers' licenses and the operations of food and beverage enterprises.
In more news, Grenada's Foreign Minister Joseph Andel has come out in defense of his country's Citizenship by Investment program and the decision to resume accepting applications from Russian nationals. Under the previous government, after war broke out with Ukraine and global sanctions were imposed on Russia, St. George's instituted a policy to suspend considering applications from that area. Speaking at a town hall meeting Wednesday night, Andel said that once proper due diligence is conducted, it matters not where an applicant is from. During the meeting, a resident in rural St. Patrick's complained that a foreigner had bought a major house right next to his property, and he later learned that it was a new Grenadian citizen from Russia. Andel said residents must be careful not to have negative attitudes to legitimate citizens.
So I don't think that the nationality of an applicant should be an issue. Rather, the particulars of that specific individual. We have to be very, very careful. Many of us, we complain about racist treatment, discriminatory treatment that black people or non-white people receive in Europe and North America. And we have to be careful that we do not go down that same slippery slope of lumping everybody together.
Andel hailed the country's CBI program.
The CBI program is a legitimate program aimed at raising much needed revenue for Grenada and other countries like ours. Once proper measures are put in place to vet the applicants and to ensure that they are legitimate investors, business people coming in here, there is nothing that is philosophically wrong with the program.
We now bring you these international reports.
There are protests outside the headquarters of the Electoral Commission of Pakistan after it disqualified the former Prime Minister Imran Khan from holding public office on charges of unlawfully selling state gifts. The ruling coalition had sought the ruling from the commission, accusing Mr. Khan of not sharing details of presents that he'd received from foreign dignitaries and proceeds that he then garnered from their alleged sale. His aides say they're going to challenge the Election Commission's verdict in the High Court, and Mr. Khan himself says the case was politically motivated. Well, let's turn now to our South Asia editor for BBC World Service, Anbarasan Etirajan. Is this too early to count out Imran Khan's political career? On the face of it, he's now barred from holding public office, but what's your hunch?
Well, twists and turns are not very unusual in Pakistani politics. You may see this verdict overturned in courts in a few weeks' time. And what is interesting is it is coming at a time when Mr. Khan is hugely popular in the country. In fact, over the weekend, he ran for at least 6 parliamentary seats. He stood by himself and he won all of them. And now he stands disqualified according to the Election Commission. And he was ousted from power in April. Since then, he has been holding various protests across Pakistan, galvanizing his supporters, urging the government to conduct immediate elections, national elections, because they're scheduled to be held next year. And he says the government is illegal. Now, the Election Commission says he violated rules, but it has not specified yet how long he'll be disqualified, whether it is for 5 years or for the time being. We are still waiting for the final verdict of the Election Commission, but it will trigger anger among protesters.
Well,
and
talking of anger, Amberson, I've noticed on social media some of his close political allies are already saying that Pakistanis should take to the streets over the coming days to protest about what has just happened. Do you suspect there will be massive street protest in the coming days?
There will be protests. As we speak already, groups of protesters are in the capital Islamabad and some other places are protesting against this verdict. But the PTI, the party of Khan, has shown in the past that they can bring hundreds of thousands of protesters to the capital Islamabad. A few years ago, if you remember, they brought the capital to a standstill for weeks when they held anti-government protests. In fact, a few days ago, Mr. Khan had urged his supporters to come to the capital next month, urging the government for an immediate election. So we can expect more protests, because if Khan says that he's waiting, we're all waiting for his statement. If he's going to say, come to Islamabad, we need to take action against the government. And one of his aides already said, this verdict is a slap in the face on the Pakistani people, and we should start the new revolution.
Very, very briefly, Emerson, we're talking about political turmoil in the UK. It seems to me political turmoil in Pakistan is just going to continue. How sustainable is this?
The country is going through a very difficult financial crisis at this point. They already asked for an IMF loan because their foreign exchange reserves are dwindling, and they witnessed one of the devastating monsoon floods in recent months. More than 8 million people were displaced, and to add this, we're now witnessing this political crisis.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll keep informing us of the twists and turns. Amarison, thank you very much indeed.
Now, the United Nations says Colombia has broken its own record for cultivating coca, the main ingredient of cocaine. A new report has revealed Colombia's coca harvest area increased by 43% last year, the highest figure in 2 decades. Emma McCarthy now reports.
Rolling green crops in Colombia may look idyllic, but they hide an illicit ingredient, coca, the base of cocaine. And the world's largest producer of the drug has now broken its own record for coca production. Colombia harvested some 204,000 hectares of the plant last year. That's a 43% increase, according to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. It's also the highest figure since the body started monitoring Colombia's cocaine production in 2001. The report found the increases are due to more productive varieties, better technical assistance, and the replanting of coca bushes. Most of Colombia's cocaine goes to the US and Europe. At the presentation of the report in Bogotá, the country's justice minister said the numbers were clear evidence of the failure of the war on drugs.
If we continue to do what we have been doing for the last 10 or 20 years, the result will not change. If we want to reverse the figure, we have to do something different, something new.
That's a view held by the country's new president, Gustavo Petro. He's raised, among other things, an amnesty to gangsters willing to give themselves up and abandon the trade. He's also proposed purchasing arable land to redistribute to small farmers to make a living from legal crops. In the past, the government has struggled to get farmers to move away from coca production, but promises to provide incentives and subsidies haven't materialised. Emma McCarthy, BBC News.
The British governing Conservative Party is beginning its second leadership contest in 4 months. It comes after the Prime Minister Liz Truss resigned on Thursday, saying she couldn't implement the policies on which she was elected. Candidates will need the support of at least 100 MPs, and while there are no formal contenders yet, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson could attempt a dramatic comeback. Here's our political correspondent, Iona Wells.
The shortest serving Prime Minister in British history. Her position unsalvageable.
We set out a vision for a low-tax, high-growth economy that would take advantage of the freedoms of Brexit. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
So attention now turns to who will replace her. Tory MPs have until 2 p.m. on Monday to nominate a new leader. They'll need 100 nominations to make it onto the ballot. That means a maximum of 3 Tory MPs could make the cut. If only one gets 100 nominations from colleagues, they'll automatically become the leader. If there's more than one, there'll be an MP's vote, and then Tory members will pick between the final 2 in an online vote, with the whole thing done by the 28th of October. So who are Tory MPs talking up for the top spots here? No MPs have officially said they will run yet, but Rishi Sunak, who came second this summer, is someone a lot of MPs have already come out in support of. Cabinet Ministers Penny Mordaunt and Kemi Badenoch, who ran for the leadership this summer, are also being mentioned by some Tory MPs. As is Suella Braverman, who resigned just this week as Home Secretary.
I want to thank all the wonderful staff.
And then there's the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, forced to resign just months ago after mass resignations from his own government.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And a series of scandals over Downing Street parties and revelations he knew about sexual misconduct allegations involving one of his senior government colleagues. Some Tory MPs say they'd consider resigning as a Conservative MP if he was elected again. Others are now calling for him to return. Conservative sources say the Business Secretary, Jacob Rees-Mogg, has encouraged colleagues to back him, and other MPs have said he is the only person with a mandate from the general public in an election. Opposition parties, though, think it's time for a new election now.
I really don't think that another revolving door of chaos, another experiment at the top of the Tory party is the way out of this.
What needs to happen now? Well, on a UK level, there must be a general election. It is a democratic necessity.
We don't need another Conservative Prime Minister. They need to go. We need another general election.
Let me just get a show of hands. It's not scientific, but it's just to get an idea. Who here would like a general election?
An election is something Tory MPs will want to avoid, with the polls looking bad for them. The immediate race is to see which of them can get the support of 100 colleagues over the weekend to have a shot at that top job. Ione Wells, BBC News.
You were listening to the Win FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister addresses Haiti's turmoil in speech at 72nd OECS Authority meeting. Says region should do more than just say sorry.
The Gingerland Secondary School shows appreciation to senior citizens.
Tucker Clark Primary School student dominates Rotary Club of Liamiga Spelling Bee competition.
CARICOM has concerns about United Nations resolution to Security Council for the deployment of forces to Haiti will be vetoed. Dominica removes COVID-19 mask mandate. Internationally, Pakistan's Election Commission has disqualified ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan from holding public office in a case the former cricketer has previously described as politically motivated. Thank you for listening.
That was the Win FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and the ICDF Taiwan Technical Mission. Think before you bin it. There can be some use in it. The Nevis Solid Waste Management Authority, in collaboration with Taiwan ICDF Technical Mission and the Department of Environment, presents Let's Recycle. We're encouraging all residential homes, commercial businesses, and schools to bring along your plastic bottles, metal cans, and aluminum cans, ready for an opportunity to win big. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the following locations: in Nevis, every second and fourth Friday of each month at Delta Petroleum, ex-Petrol in Camps, Big Six in Gingerland, and the Old Artisan Village in Charlestown. In St. Kitts, every second and fourth Tuesday at the Connery Roundabout, every first and third Tuesday at Buckley's parking lot in front of Best Buy, and the last Saturday of each month in Dieppe Bay. But wait, that's not all. 1 pound equals 1 point. So bring your recyclables and build up your points for a chance to win stainless steel thermal bottles, flatware, and much more. To learn more about the recycling project, do visit our Facebook page at Let's Recycle in St. Kitts and Nevis, or contact us at 465-2372. The choice is yours. Save it or waste it. You are the difference. So think smart.
Take that, reduce, reuse, recycle.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Found the sound, 98.9 FM.
Hartsford's Value Mart IG Value Club Blue Tax Special.
Running October 20th to November 2nd.
Essential Everyday Dry Roasted Peanuts, $8.99. Swiss Miss Chocolate Mixes, $6.49. Breyers Ice Cream, just $26.99 each. Pepperidge Farm Cakes, $24.99. Essential Everyday Baking Chips, $11.99. Pringles Chips, $7.99. And now our very low weekly
value deals. IG and Essential Everyday Cornflakes, $8.99. IG and Essential Everyday Mac and Cheese, $2.79. AM and Pepsodent Toothpaste, $4.99. Glucose Shakes, $8.99. Essential Everyday Croutons, $5.99. Essential Everyday Salt, $4.99. Shop smart, shop Value Mart. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí, ¿ah?
Value Mart.
Good afternoon and welcome back to the second half of today's presentation of Voices. My name is Socrates and we enjoy a wonderful chit-chat on this fantastic Friday. The first session went very well. We got into some very interesting discussions about genealogy, about enslaved Africans and the history and the curriculum that's been taught at the schools and what should be changed and not. We had a very valuable and detailed contribution by Sister Carla Henry, that short lady, tall lady, who's trying to find out whether she's Ashanti, Igbo, or whatever. Good luck on your search. This afternoon I want to start by asking for the prayers of the many fans and supporters and the public in general for the descendant, Mr. Keith Scarborough. I understand he's going through a bit of medical challenge, and so we ask that we keep him in our prayers. Be mindful that the same can happen to any one of us at any given time. So please keep the descendant, that legendary Calypsonian. I don't recall if there's a year over the past 20 plus years that he did make a contribution to the Culturama Calypso competition, to the development of culture overall. News got to me last evening by another Calypsonian that he is going through a bit of medical distress. I won't go into the particulars, but please keep him in our prayers, the same as one of our other Calypsonian, known as the Pahola. Mr. Walters up there in St. Peter's. Sir, I've made application on your behalf to assist you in what was discussed by a friend of yours. We are working on that. So, yes, we have to look to our cultural aficionados and see that they're okay. So keep Mr. Keith, this and that, Scarborough in your prayers. Wish him and his family all the best. Speedy recovery. We would love to see his energy once again on the stage. Okay? So that's what I want to start this afternoon with. The lines are once again open. It's open mic Friday. The numbers to call to get in on the conversation about any other topic of your choice. 466-0989-662-0989 and further field. Let me get those numbers. I'll present a bit later on. Yes. Keith, I just spoke about Keith Scarborough. But for many persons out there, I met a guy in the circus, was it yesterday, who tells me that he lives in Boston and they listen to the program. I'm so very much encouraged with that. Pretty often, there was a lady from Oklahoma who says, I listen voices, I listen to you. Another guy tell me, I sit in the chair and cross my legs. The fact is, you're listening. I'm very happy that you guys out there are tuned to what's happening in the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. The other numbers to call from the New York area, 718, of course, area code 285-6948. From Florida, we know they have some challenges over there, 305-921-4619. Locally, 466-0989-662-0989. And let's have a little chit-chat. My name is Socrates, and you're logged on to another episode of Voices. And this morning we're speaking about quite a few things. I hope I get a call back from Sister Henry and Lady Carla Astafan. Right? So there you have it. Calypsos are coming your way shortly. I did find a copy of that song by Lady Currents entitled Enough, and I forgot to give it to Mr. Trent Sargent, the engineer, during the luncheon interlude, so probably get it to him before the show is over. Yes. So we have about 18 Calypsonians. They're going to start rehearsing. Well, I'm saying this because I was called by Mr. Reese from the Carnival Committee yesterday to inquire when would the Legend Band be rehearsing. We start from this afternoon at our band house over there by what's called the Orges Building. We start around 4 o'clock for a band rehearsal, and as of tomorrow, we take the Calypsonians through their paces in preparation for the launch that what may be the first Calypso tent that's due on the 3rd of next month. It's going to be midweek. We don't want to clash with any weekend events, so all the Calypso fans, stay tuned. I called Sandra Byron this morning to let her know that she is expected to be there. She's no longer an MC. She's retired from that role, but for the many, many years she has contributed to Calypso. For 21 years, she was the MC for the Legends Calypso tent. We want to get her out there to show appreciation. Let's see what Chris Collins is saying now. He's over there in St. Lucia enjoying Mai Tai and all kind of stuff. He's speaking about the number of Calypsonians. You're going to have your hands full. 18 is a manageable amount. It's midweek. We don't want to go too late. We want to use we have about half of that from Nevis. So it's a challenge for the Nevian contingent to come down, take part in the tents, and get home. So we have to have a special charter for them to get back. But it's the value of the contribution. Some people ask, why do you do it? It's hard work, very little rewards in terms of XYZ. But we love the art form and we contribute. This year marks 22 years of the Legends tent. And well, Sandra was here from inception. No, she was the second year. Calypso Reggie was. Of course, we remember the great contributions of one Calypso Reggie. So yes, we're getting into that mode again. We're the 21st day of October, 10 days, ushers in November. 3 days from that, we have the launch of the first Calypso tent. We have some humorous Calypso, political commentaries. There's a popular method Calypsonians will say, well, they ask me what I'm singing, and this and that and that and that. I don't even know what I'm singing. There's an anticipation that I'm going to come political. And somebody will say, well, for X amount of years, you ain't singing no politics all of a sudden. You know, I like the whole suspense thing. It's an enticement for the folks to come out to the tents and see what's new. There'll be some songs released on the radio as, a little teasing the public. But we want a full-fledged audience when we launch. We went to some years back to a bit of free tents. There'll be one or two in public venues, but you shouldn't have to wait for that. I thought that Carl Brown at one point, because we had a tent down at the ferry terminal, which was sponsored by the then Carnival Committee. And Carl Brown came down there. Well, I didn't start yet. I said, Carl Brown, you'd never come to a tent. You never see you. But now we have a free tent. You're coming to tell me that we're starting late. You know, there's sometimes some challenges. And we advertise for 8. Sometimes we start 8:45, but of course, sometimes when we start at 8, people come for 8:45 because they figure the tent will start late, and they would miss some of the Calypsonians and ask them for a call. Come on time. When you have to go to the courthouse, you go early. When the bailiff call your name, hear ye, this, and you don't show up, you have a charge to face the magistrate. So come to the tents early. Don't miss any of the Calypsonians. This is the first pre-COVID Calypso tent. We've gone back outside. For the 2 years that the Carnival Committee would have managed the tents, I'm not sure if there was payment at the gate or, but we have gone through a lot of, not paying. It's only $20. I'm going to say it's only $20. $20 may seem a lot for folks who don't have, but it's something that the Calypsonians would need to help them prepare better to entertain you. So there you have it. The Legends Calypso tent will be launching with a new club of Calypsonians. We're looking to launch about 18 on that night, so don't miss that. Okay? Some of the highlights of the tent, of course, we have Brum Sugar with us, and some other notables. We have some new ones. We have some new names from Nevis, and they're kicking people in the shin, so it's going to be great, right? I would think that Legends supporters would come out. Somebody sent me a little text. Let me read it, what it says here now. Let me see what it says. This is a contributor. I would think that Legends supporters would come out in droves since COVID put a halt on pass and a few and cost management compared to other events. I am eavesdropping. The fact is that you're listening, and I appreciate that. You're tuned. I did hail you earlier, you know. I did say hi. I'm not going to call your name now because people know who I'm talking to, but I did actually hail you up a bit earlier, along with Lady Agnes Kerritt and her daughter and Miss Wall and all those nice folks. So I did give you a little hi, good morning. I don't know if you were otherwise engaged, but yes. Yes, we have a fan base that follows us, but at the same time, the Calypso-loving audience is shrinking, and it's why we don't have tents that would clash on the same night, because the same people want to go to other tent and see what the offerings are. But it's most important to know that Sugar Mass 51 is back up and running, starting with the regular formats where the Calypso tents, the Calypsonians, are the forerunners of the main carnival events. I think carnival launches sometime in, is it late December or early November? Yeah, early December, late November. So we are the ones who are enticing the public with offerings of the Calypso. Somebody said to me recently, as is normal, oh, all I got plenty of things to sing about now. All you can say, I don't have topics to sing about. What are you talking about? Eh? There are lots of topics, varied. This year, it's going to be interesting. A certain Calypsonian gave me a snippet, well, a view into one of his songs. It's called Drew Come. Drew Come, or Drew Came. You know, like he's glad that Drew came because the sun was so hot, and then it started raining a couple of cricket until Drew came. So, you know, the Calypsonian who's famous for crafting those kind of lyrics, right? So 662-0999, 662-0989, 466-0989, get you in on the conversation. Congratulations for those folks who would have won the grand prize in the fishing tournament held last weekend. I bought my raffle tickets. I realized that nobody even asked me my name, so no problem. Somebody won, right? So yes, Chris, as I mentioned last week, I did get a response to the Calypso entrapment I was trying to put in place for the mallet sledgehammer. But somebody seriously said they think that would be a good competition, and we should get the unexpected involved and all those who craft those humorous songs. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a very good thing. There's been a few years since they've had a humorous Calypso competition. And because they're witty Calypso competition, there is a thin line between witty and smut. One has to craft songs being witty with the forethought that children are listening. So if I were to be judging what's supposed to be a witty Calypso competition, there's no way I'm letting a smutty song pass. You've got to be witty. You've got to be creative. You've got to be able to invoke laughter without being smutty. There's a thin line. And so I'm looking forward. I know some of the material that the Mallet would have put out in the past in terms of his witty songs. He's done quite a few in St. Lucia, Give Me the Meat Just So, and stuff like that. So yes, Mallet, I would like to engage you. And somebody said unexpected. And all the folks who write those witty songs into a showdown and make the offerings a lot bigger for Carnival Sugar Mass 51. Okay? So there is that. 662-0989, 466-0989, 718-285-6948 from the New York area. From Florida, we've got the 305-921-4619. From the UK, 46609. No, that's different. That's changed. UK is 033-344-0065. Let me call, guys, what's happening downtown. Taxi drivers have been calling me and talking about the honorarium that they've heard that the government was paid to the frontline workers. And how come they not mention taxi drivers? That honorarium have nothing to do with you. Yeah, but we're frontline workers, but we were not considered in that package. We talk about ambulance drivers, those police officers, they're in that special category as they ought to be. So, those are the one who that was crafted for. Our request, our proposal to the government is yet been addressed. So for those who are asking around and saying this and saying that and that, please be sure our situation is being assessed at a much different level and all that. So share that information, because I'm being called continuously, asked about how come this an honorarium that has nothing to do with us. I have a secret I would like to share with the public. I like to surprise people. So I had a very interesting call this morning. One of our callers, contributors, made a very, very important contribution to the discussion about our genealogy and what should be taught in the schools. And I asked a question: how would she advise the now generation in terms of researching our history, blah, blah, blah. And I asked her, can she call back after, because it was a very interesting conversation. We had a break for the midday newscast. And guess what? The person's on the phone at the moment, so I'm going to... Let's welcome to the airways of Win FM 98.9, former host of Voices, Miss Carla Astafan, live and direct in the studios. Carla, the mic is yours. Welcome, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I hear me saying welcome. You can see how I like the hot seat.
Carla's in the house.
Like I'm welcoming you to your show.
Carla in the house. Well, yes, it goes back to the naturalness. Yeah. You're the host, so you would normally say to people, welcome. So yes, thanks for welcoming me to your program.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I since we're talking about history and you're welcoming me, I was walking across this. I'm going to surprise Socrates, and I have to tell him that when you're talking about history, Paul Ferguson and I were the first two people in this hot seat here on Voices. The very first show, so it's our show.
I recall his famous caller. Can substantiate that?
Yes.
He would call with information, and he would say, well, caller, I can't substantiate that. Yeah. So we can substantiate the fact that Carla is in the house. Chris Collins, eat your heart out. Go ahead, Carla.
So we were talking about, the history that is being taught in the schools. And I hear a lot of people sort of bashing the curriculum. But the curriculum, I believe, teaches, because I have children who have gone through the system, who have done history. I go through the books. As a matter of fact, my daughter likes to tell me, you're only interested in history. Like, that's the only subject I seem to care about. So she's, so I read the stuff and I see what is in there. And I believe what has to happen is that, yes, they give them some, but go dig deeper. That's what I used to do as a child. Like, you would read a little area, like I mentioned George Lamin. I would read a little excerpt in our literature, but then I went in the library to look for his book. So you read a little excerpt here and a little excerpt, Honeychurch, what's his name? My friend, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, who writes, he has a lot of information, but he's not going to put all of it into the history books. So you now have to go and dig deeper, right? So it is that sense of curiosity that we need to foster in our children to, regardless of the subject that they're doing, that they have to go and dig deeper. It's not enough to just take what is in the history books and say, well, they're not teaching me that. Fortunately, there are teachers who go that extra mile and they tell you a lot more. And that helps to raise your curiosity. So I'm not going to join in saying that we don't have history. I think a lot of times children just, a lot of our children tends to dismiss the history. And because history is not compulsory in the public schools, then they drop history very early on. I don't know up to what age or up to what form it is compulsory, but I know in ICCS it definitely is compulsory right through to 5th form.
We're speaking specifically of history as it relates to of ourselves as a people, African.
So
are you saying that the onus should be on the students?
No, listen, we have a CXC syllabus, Caribbean Examination Council. So are we saying, if we want to talk about the syllabus, are we saying that Caribbean Examinations Council isn't teaching us what we are supposed to know as a people of African heritage? Is that what we're saying? Because no. I did history here at CFBC. I did history in school, and the history that we are learning is relevant to us. It is. They are not teaching us
Caribbean people.
Yes, to our Caribbean people, it is.
It's relevant to, but we're speaking about our history from an African perspective. You spoke about the one we get from Europe with that particular slant.
Yeah.
Which actually, they recreated, they actually recreated a narrative and gave us and said, that's your history.
So a lot of our history...
So I think it's about re-educating ourselves.
Frankly, a lot of our history begins, say, with the slave trade.
Slavery,
Yeah, no. Let me go back a little bit. It begins with the discovery, with Columbus. It talks about Columbus. It talks about indigenous peoples. Talks about the slave trade. It talks about slavery and so on. So I think what is missing, I think what people would like to see is prior. What was Africa like before? Do we have, we don't have that. That is what is missing. Who we were before the coming of Columbus. Okay? And this is where I'm saying investigation, unless they maybe they can create a specific course, or it has to be added to the syllabus, because when we start our history with indigenous peoples and the coming of Columbus and so on, and the other, so what happened pre-Columbus? The pre-Columbus that we get is mostly the indigenous peoples. We need the pre-Columbus with talking about Africa before, so this is where I say, I did my own research, okay? I go into those books. Children, as I tell my daughters, you all now have this at your fingertips.
Yes.
We had to go physically, go into the library, go and look for books, and there weren't many. So now you have this at your fingertips.
Tool of learning.
Yes.
A lot of guys just use this now to film a dance or a walk-up session, or people fighting on the melee.
Yeah.
This gadget in our hands is an education, is a university.
Precisely.
Once applied properly.
So there is no need for you not to know stuff.
Not to know, that is correct.
Right? So you go in there and you type in. I mean, I sit down sometimes and just delve, and so this is what. So maybe to make it more interesting, what they have to do is create a part of the syllabus that talks about what was happening in Africa at the time, or what was happening in Africa millions of years. I mean, I was reading, for instance, so many years ago, my sister gave me an African study Bible, right? And the researchers, so they were showing you step by step throughout the Bible, going back to the Old Testament. And it was, I grabbed onto it, I still have it. It is because, even for me, just like when you were talking to Africa earlier, and you asked him what spiked his interest. Yeah. I remember thinking, and I've said it before, if they're teaching us in geography that these places, the Euphrates and so on, is on the African continent, and the Garden of Eden is supposed to be taken in that place, then how is it these people were white? You understand? How is it that the cradle of civilization, why are they showing us a white people? And
let's go to Egypt.
Yeah, so precisely all of the countries that they're talking about, Egypt, Israel, all of those places are people of color. So even as a child, I started to think that way. So when I came across this African Study Bible and it delved more into, what was taking place, what was this and what, and gave a totally different view.
You start now to identify.
Right. So you start to see yourself because a lot of times we don't see ourselves in the Bible. And so we think because they gave us all of these white images that we are not the people who were the people taken who were in the Bible. And it's and so this was a very important
fundamental.
Yeah, very fundamental for me. I mean, I had read different books before, but this study Bible I found was quite important, and I read most of it. There would be, those little lines on the notes under, and it explains, you go back and forth, and that's what I was doing. So
I was watching a clip recently where this person was speaking about when Richard Pryor was taken to Egypt, one of the pyramids.
Yeah,
he was carrying the bags for these so-called archaeologists. But when he looked around in the pyramids, he's seen the imagery, all the artwork of Africans. He said, hey, these are Africans. They built pyramids, and blah, blah, blah. It took the folks a while to realize he was actually, and this was being broadcast live, people seeing that he said, hey, this is my history.
Yeah.
And then they kind of block it out.
Yeah.
Right? So the whole exercise of removing Egypt from Africa, because Egypt has been recognized as a certain level of civilization, whereas we are told African on par, uncivilized. So how do you credit Egypt with all that?
Yeah.
You have to remove it from Africa.
Yeah. Then I read books like Nile Valley Civilization, many other books that, I still have today. And as I said, it is about us, digging deeper.
Re-educating ourselves.
Yes, re-educate yourself. There's a lot, we live in an era where a lot of truth is being told. A lot is coming to the fore. We're seeing people, and even for those who love their TikToks and so on, you can find people that you can follow on social media who bring valuable information. I like to follow, for instance, Garfield Alexander. He has a lot of really good posts. This morning, I had to look at something he posted twice, where a woman, and I love the paint on her face and so on, but basically showing where an African king...
Where it came from?
No, I would say it's a TikTok. It was a TikTok. I can't remember who's the at who. I said I had to go back to look at it. But he's saying, these people are humans. These people are of some kingly stature, whatever, queen stature. So she's saying, but look, in the comments, they're like, he's creating a disunity, right? But she said, when you all were talking of us as a people as not human, it was okay.
Okay, it was okay.
Yeah. So she's actually saying, he's saying this person is a king, but this is a normal human being. But this, so you're seeing all humans, but some he's casting as kings and queens, and others as just human. So in his on that. So I was like, okay. I found it very interesting, and what she was saying is correct. Like, you once had us less than animals. We were treated as animals. So people were sold, captured, put, in dungeons and all of those.
There was a line from the character who played Mr. T. That was his name. Because Mr. T, because when you call me, you must say Mr.
Yeah.
Because you refer to black people as boy.
Yeah.
And I said to a lot of people around here, boy is a white racist word. So they call me, boy, come here. No, you never call a big man boy. It's a white racist word. But we don't really understand it.
Yeah.
So Mr. T changed his name legally to Mr. T.
Yeah.
And when he was criticized about the chains he was wearing, he says, but when he was wearing actual chains, slavery, it didn't bother you. But my gold chains now is a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
there
you
are
make
so many
statements
things,
in so many ways. But Walter Rodney's book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, I
Yes.
bought that specifically because I had an interest
Yeah.
in learning the history as it ought to be taught. So I have a few books by
And there's
Dr.
also-
Walter Rodney.
There's a book you should add. Dr. Hilary Beckles completed a
was
book
gonna
and
mention
launched
him.
it this year.
It launched this year?
Yes,
Wanna
it's
get
how
that.
Europe underdeveloped the Caribbean.
Yeah.
This year is the 50th anniversary of Walter Rodney's writing of how Europe underdeveloped Africa. So Beckles has written
How Europe underdeveloped
the Caribbean.
Wow.
Right? So that, and
gotta get
I
that.
went to the launch of it in Barbados earlier this year. I was in Barbados for CARICOM reparations retreat. So he launched it at UE at that time. So I attended that.
You know, we can get a copy?
Yeah, it's. I think it's being sold online, and I didn't bring back. I bought a copy for myself. I didn't bring back a lot of copies, but I will definitely get that information to you soon as possible.
I think we have to pause at this point and say thank you to our sponsors, and we will be right back. But once again, we got Carla in the house.
Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less and save more. How, you ask? Essential Everyday and Equiline. Spend less on our Essential Everyday products and get the best quality, the best taste, and the best value. Spend less for all your family health and beauty needs with the Equiline brand of over-the-counter products. Horsford's Value Mart IGA is helping you spend less. With our Essential Everyday products and Equiline over-the-counter health and beauty care products. Shop smart and spend less at Value Mart, where price matters most.
Okay, we're back. You're logged on to NFM 98.9, logged on to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates, present host of today's program. And with us in the studio, we have one of the original hostess of Voices, in the person of I call her Lady Carla Astafan. And she decided to drop in and surprise me and help to edify. We have a call on the line. We go straight to the phone lines. Caller, thanks for joining us. You're live on Voices.
Hi, the King. I'm back.
Africa in the house. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Carla. Approaching myself, approaching this thing and trying to get a hold of as to who am I? You know, who am I? And with all of this history. And today, none of us has any excuses because the information is here. I spoke about Sheikh Anta Diop's book One House, his many writings, and I can go online and just listen to it audially, via audio. So if I'm not able to really read the way they say, and you know something they said about it, if you want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. I was curious as to what was being hidden. And so I went into the book, and I did not put down the book up to this day. But I always use the metaphor of an onion. And those of us who goes into the kitchen and cook, you know, trying to peel off the layers of onion, it has that rhyme that makes you cry. I literally cried when I discovered what was hidden from us in the book and otherwise. And having to deal with that as to how my psyche was traumatized and how to heal my trauma, to deal with my people in an upfront way, in a logical way, as to how I present this thing. Not within a hurt, but with healing. Even as painful as it might be, Carla, because there are times when, like, you would say, like, wow, how could another human being commit atrocity like this, of this magnitude, and another human being? And that illness, that sickness is so contagious that you have to guard yourself from that contagion, because you have work to do. You have a nation to heal. You have restoration to bring about. And so let us start this restoration by rewriting our history and telling our story, because we are the ones who is going to heal the whole world, unborn generations of other people, other race from other races who need to hear our story.
One of the things...
we are the ones who to tell the story. So therefore, don't allow our trauma to get in our way.
Unfortunately, our trauma is in our way. I'm happy you brought up the word trauma, because that is something that has affected us. You may be talking in terms of the present, saying the trauma that you experience, but all of us are carrying the traumas
PTSD.
of the centuries of enslavement, of what our ancestors went through. It is in our DNA.
PTSD.
So this is something that, look at our health. Just last week, I was reading up Stop Cancer. It's a docu course that I did, and I was reading up on the emotional aspect where our emotional health is affected. And the doctor who was talking about the fact that, look at African Americans. They are Africans, not only African Americans, the Africans in the diaspora, dealing with the traumas of slavery, dealing with the traumas of having to be seen, even after the abolition of slavery, as second-class citizens. Look at the traumas visited upon Americans even up to today. So those to African Americans up to today. So all of these are traumas that have, what is it causing now? It's not only our foods causing the high blood pressure and the diabetes, but it's the trauma, the cancers. Look at the rates of cancer. So all of these things that we have to somehow find a way in which to release it, to release those traumas. And one of the ways in which we can do that is through knowledge and through, as you was just saying, crying. Yes, we have to let it out. We have to, you see it, you read it, you let it out. And we may have to cry several times. But so we are dealing with the trauma. We are dealing with it in our DNA. Something that's a part of us.
Yes, and you did mention something about cancer just now.
Mm-hmm.
They waited and they knew. They knew all along, and the research are there. Not even just the ketones from the coconut oil, but they are saying now that the coconut oil is good for ingestion because it prohibits or it blocks or it heals breast cancer in women. That is so prevalent in women. Coconut oil. You know why? Because coconut is a tropical fruit. And they would want to think that, boy, we have to debar this thing and use other rancid oil like canola oil and sunflower seed oil.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want the glut on the market. They want to control that commodity. And so now they're saying they are coming up. They finally have the nerve to tell us that coconut oil has something to do with
our forefathers knew that already. It's just that we like to go with the flow.
Migration served us not in our best interest, because forced migration, we would have lost touch with that culture, that knowledge base of healing. There was a time as a child, you could tell the bush around the yard by name and speak to the healing properties. But in migration, even immigration, you lose touch of that.
We were using strictly coconut oil, and then somehow they came up and started to talk about saturated this and that and whatever, and somehow, look at, I grew up in Dominica, we were making coconut oil. There was the plant where they were actually producing coconut oil, and so on. That was a huge industry for them. And it got killed because of what was being said about the coconut, right? Now look at this, what's happening today. And we could look at other, so it is us following trends. And so they feed you certain things, you move away from what you know, and then you have to double back. You know, it's the same thing like one of the things that really irked me is the plastic thing. When we were young, we went to the shop with our leather red bag.
Yes.
You understand? There were ladies making bags. It was a cottage industry. Plastics came about, and suddenly everybody leave their bag at home and their basket at home and their box. And we start using plastic. Now, 30, 40 years later, everybody wants to go back to the bag. And we need to go back to the bag. And yes, and the bag is now very expensive. The ladies who used to make it once upon a time are long gone. This is not something that has continued today. So we now have to import special bags at higher prices. I mean,
Again, migration. We go up there
so
and we assimilate.
The conversation, thankfully, and keep up the good work. We have
Thank you.
tremendous work to do.
Yes.
We have a lot of work to do. And
Indeed.
Those of us who are called, do not relent. Continue to speak.
Thank you.
In a diplomatic manner, however way, respectfully, continue to speak.
Okay.
Because
Thank you
we
very
have
much,
a nation to save, a lot of people to save. Thanks for listening, the King.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. My interest was spiked in my Africanness because I had access to the library of a Dr. Emmanuel. Dr. Emmanuel, he was an educator in St. Thomas. He taught African art history at the university there, but was not satisfied with what he was teaching. He took a sabbatical for 5 years, went to Africa, and when he returned and started to teach now,
he was teaching with a different energy.
His students would be crying. They would be in tears.
Yeah.
The downside of that is that when they would leave his classroom, the first Caucasian that they saw was blows. See, they got physical with him. So the government of the day paid him to stay home and not to teach. It broke his heart. I mean, I know the man personally. I used to play in his club, but I had access because his family liked me. So on Sundays, I would go to his home and had access to his library. And that is what caused my awakening. That's why I posed a question to Africa. It had to be something specific. Because at that time of my life, I was like playing in bands and happy-go-lucky, etc., not aware, but having access. So there had to be something that triggers that interest. And I never turned back.
That's good. Yeah, so over time, I mean, for me, at one point, just like you, I wasn't really studying all of that. But as time went on, listening to some of the speakers who have come to St. Kitts, and we've had some really good speakers who have come here, who were brought here throughout the years. I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Ben Yochanan, who was an Egyptologist. I met Anthony Browder came here to speak. Stokely Carmichael came here to speak. We had...
When did Stokely come here?
Stokely Carmichael came here some years back. Okay. I can't remember a good amount of years, but he was here. So we had all of these speakers who came, and so
open your eyes.
Yeah, you as you listen to different people, it opens up your eyes more and more. You want to dig deeper. As a matter of fact, it was Anthony Browder who started the message about not using the term slaves towards when speaking about our ancestors.
Enslaved.
Yeah, so he was the one who started that whole thing about saying enslaved Africans.
I'm unaware of that.
Yeah,
but always, if you've listened to me in the past, I say enslaved because slavery is a state of mind.
Yeah, so he has a book. He came here many years ago, and it is after when he started that, little by little, people, it filtered. So maybe you heard it somewhere. You could have heard it somewhere. But
in my own awareness,
he came. He had a talk up at when Romeo Paris used to run. What's that? The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. Yeah,
that's where he had. And I remember that. And after that, I started making a very conscious effort because we hadn't heard that. And now all historians, anybody who is involved in history will write in that way. Enslaved Africans. Yeah.
Unaware of that.
Yeah, and this is something that I would like to see for you to really push for our drivers, our taxi drivers, our tour guides, to relinquish that, referring always just saying the slaves.
Always say the enslaved.
Yeah. So
it's speaking about John Newton, I suppose he brought X amount of enslaved.
Yeah, yeah.
Slavery is a state of mind that you become conditioned to, and you have no need to the desire to fight for your freedom.
One of the things I also would like to see happen, again, you're a taxi driver and you would have attended the workshop with Leonard Stapleton, which the tourism has, the cultural. And one of the things I told him, I said, we need to start looking at a different way in which we're telling our stories. Too many of the stories are coming from a European standpoint. From the time you leave Port Zante, all we are talking about is things from the circus, Thomas Berkeley Memorial, to the square, just a little bit about the fact that it was a market where enslaved Africans, the Africans were put on the on the auction block and sold into slavery. But we need to start, to me, there was a Sunday market. Enslaved Africans had plots of land where they were producing food, and they would come to that Sunday market. They started to make money even while enslaved. Isn't that just a more empowering story to tell?
I speak about Becca Douglas at Batik Factory. Well, Romney.
Yes, let us hear about Beto. Let us hear about. I never miss telling that. I hardly ever miss telling that story on the train. I feed it is into my thing. It's in Leonard Stapleton's book about the very first revolt that took place, and it took place in Diebe.
Spread across the Caribbean.
Right. It took place here in Diebe in 1639, which means it was the first revolt in the Caribbean.
Early clock.
Right, where these people went up into La Amiga. And I find that is a vital story. I mean, yes, John Newton, we talk about John Newton, but the John Newton story is not as important to me.
Here's what. I had a problem with taking people to the Amazing Grace.
Yeah,
and I asked them, what am I doing here? What am I saying?
Yeah, precisely.
What am I bringing tourists here to hear? No.
When I'm on the train's bus leg, I am like, why are we even talking about this? I can understand. Why instead don't we say, John Newton listened to the hum of the Africans.
And that's where you got the melody from. We have to take on the phone lines.
You understand? We need to change the way in which we speak.
Call out, sorry, your live and voices.
Good day.
Good day, good to how are you?
Hi.
Yeah, God bless. God bless. Greetings in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from their sins and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to say, all of our problems and traumas and that sort of stuff is because we are disobedient to the Bible. And the solution is to be obedient to the Bible. That takes care of all of our traumas, stress, and everything. Okay? There's no solution apart from the Bible in dealing with any issue in life, including traumas and that sort of stuff. Now, the John Newton history is very important. It is very important to show, especially to show how a man could change from being evil
to be
as
good.
He took part in the slave trade and that sort of stuff, to become a very godly Christian man who fought to help end slavery.
True.
He was along the side of William Wilberforce and so on.
Yes, Gregory.
I think he ended up becoming
Gregory.
They're forgetting the contribution of the tour.
Gregory, what I am saying, I understand. What you're saying is true. Wilberforce was an advocate for the abolition of slavery. So too, John Newton became a Christian. But you don't. What you're missing is that the slant needs to be about the empowerment of our enslaved ancestors. Yes, Wilberforce contributed to the abolition of slavery, but what about the fact that there were riots, that the enslaved people were resisting slavery through various forms of resistance?
The 1791 slave rebellion in Haiti triggered that.
Okay. Everywhere slavery happened, including here in St. Kitts, because there was resistance. You know that thing about they like to say that black people, like we black people, like to move slow or we lazy. That was a resistance. That in itself was a resistance to move slowly. This is why they wanted to be whipping us so that we could move fast, because we understood that the money, what they needed to make, the profits they needed to make, depended on us working fast. So our people, our ancestors were bright enough to understand that to move slowly, to feign illness,
for protest,
you understand, was a form of
industrial protest.
You understand? So this is something I prefer to tell that story. But what we want to just keep showing as if
that we're
docile. We want to keep
we have to be rescued.
We want to be mollycoddling our visitors and not dropping it. When I go to museums in other parts of the world, they're telling this history. You think the Jews are going to tell you the story like as if, well, Hitler was some god? No, they're going to tell it from their perspective. Their people were put into ovens. Okay? Yes. So you cannot tell me, yes, I can understand John Newton became a Christian, but he was on the slave ships listening to the Africans groaning, and this is
stole the melody.
Right. Okay.
So the song Amazing Grace, he stole that melody from them.
Yeah, and put the words to it.
Yes.
So let us give Jack its jacket.
Yes, but what I'm saying is that the role of John Newton was played down by y'all. I'm saying we are not to play it down either. Yes, we have to tell the whole story. And in addition, when we tell about those slave rebellions and the sort of, let us also be quite honest enough to say that a lot of the slaves then, when they became Christians, they realized that the Bible said that we are all equal. They realized that the slave master had a different Jesus to what the Bible said. Mm-hmm. And so that as well, a lot of the slave leaders then rebel under Satan because of the Christian influence on them. And then not only that, but even in other countries, where like in America and that sort of stuff, the people who led the abolitionist movement, including black people and white people together leading the abolitionist movement and the Underground Railroad and that sort of stuff, were vastly people who profess to be Christians.
Yeah.
So
of course. And I understand. No, I'm not at all eliminating the Christian angle.
And what I'm saying, John Newton and William Wilberforce blend into all that because William Wilberforce had black people working with him too, a part of the abolition movement. One of the black slaves, well, I should say former black slave. They had
and not really working with him.
Began with the E, and he wrote
Equiano, Olado Equiano, Olado Equiano. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yes, we also tell the whole story, including the resistance and what triggered a lot of the attitude behind the resistance and that sort of stuff. And that's why when people cussing the Bible and that sort of
behind the resistance.
Hey, you cannot hold on or fool enslave as such a person who is properly knowledgeable in the Bible. And that is why slave masters, governments and dictators and the sort of hate Christianity that is truly based on the Bible, because you cannot contain it, and it leads to freedom, and it prevents people from being controlled by others. So that is one. And like I first said, the solutions to all the traumas and all the stress and all the evils that are plaguing us, the solution is the Bible. And
okay, sir.
Thank you.
Of these things is disobedience to the Bible.
Thank you once again for your contribution.
Gregory always.
We got about 24 minutes before we wrap things up.
Always this.
He's consistent.
But, he's consistent. He is, and I like that. I mean, the thing is, it's what is so unfortunate. What is so sad is that Europeans chose to interpret the to be Christian, to call themselves Christian, to give us the Bible, and then, treating people like this. I mean, and this is why today, as people learn truth, one of the things they want to do is throw the Bible in the garbage. Because how could you have been holding up the Bible with one hand and then treating us this way? But some, like Gregory, like many others who choose Christianity, have, see something different in there.
Do you recall the name of the Pope who actually sanctioned slavery? I forget his name at the moment.
No, I can't.
The term he used was go on heathenize. No. Christianize the heathens.
Yeah. I can't
and
remember.
that's sort of endorsed slavery. I know his name.
And while and of course the Catholic Church gets
Complicit.
a lot of hit on that, but we also need to understand that in modern era, in I think it was at I can't remember what you call it, the Pope Papal, anyway, there was a Pope John Paul II, or one of them, did issue an apology.
Yes, I recall that.
Yeah, so we as we move on, one of the things that the and some say, they don't care for that, but hearing of apologies, issuing apologies.
It's part of the healing process. That's where it starts.
Part of the healing process, yes.
But the Wilberforce and those guys got it because they had a platform to be advocates, whereas the average African could not. So they used that advocate, but that shock wave that galvanized them into action was started in Haiti.
Yeah.
The 1791 slave rebellion messed up Europe. It started to take stock. So what we gave Wilberforce his kudos, we forget Toussaint Louverture.
Yeah, precisely. There were many heroes throughout the region. I mean, when there's so many ways in which the resistance. I find women. That's what I wrote on when I went to CFBC in 2015 and did an associate's with a concentration on history, and my paper was on the contribution of enslaved women to the abolitionist process. So women had, the role of women in abolition is greatly overlooked. And for me, that was what I wanted to write on. So that was what I did my research
But here's
on.
what quickly, based on the point you raised about what we taxi drivers present on our tours, it's a rehashed story that we gloss over.
Yeah.
And I am one who do not refer to Thomas Warner as Sir. It's been put about Sir Thomas. He was a mass murderer. Well, we're told, that's Sir Thomas Warner's tomb. So there are those among us who are more conscious, who are aware, do not go down that route. But you're right in as much that what we present to our guests
need the changing of the language. There are many guests who come back and they especially when we have people of African ancestry on tours. They don't want to just hear about because these people were colonists. We are just talking about the colonists, the colonizers. And so when I speak on the train, I talk about when the colonizers, when Europe and England colonized St. Christopher or La Amiga,
We are at the end of another episode of Voices, and I'm going to have you wrap up because you were one of the first hosts of this show. So, Carla, take us out today.
Well, folks, whether on social media or on the radio, thank you for tuning in to Voices. It has been a pleasure being here across from Honorable Socrates. I chose to come in and surprise him instead of just calling in on the radio. So thanks for staying tuned. Thanks for your contribution, Gregory, Africa, and others who called in today. It's a weekend. It's Friday. So go out and have fun. There's a lot happening this weekend. Let me see. There's Corinne Poujade is launching a troupe tonight at Vibes. There's International Night of Dance, National Independence, let me call it, Independence Night of Dance happening tomorrow at the park at the Carnival Village. I know I have some party to go to. There's quite a lot happening. So check your social calendar.
Another
go
day in
on out.
paradise.
I think you said you're having a tent. Where's the tent?
That's by the former potential location.
Okay, so we have places to go. So dress up and get out, go on a date, go to the beach. The water is lovely. I went there this morning. Anyway, it's been a slice. It's been a slice. Thank you, folks, for tuning in.
Until Monday, guys, have a safe weekend. Enjoy your fantastic Friday, and see you on next Marvelous Monday.
Don't stop, won't stop, can't stop the never-ending cashback at Horseman's. Yes, it's that time of the year.